Tyler's sneakers scraped against the cracked sidewalk as he made his way home from work. His backpack hung heavy on one shoulder, stuffed with his biology textbook and a half-eaten sandwich he'd saved from lunch. The October air had that bite to it that meant winter wasn't far off, and he pulled his thin jacket tighter around himself. It was the same jacket he'd had for 2 years now. A little too small in the sleeves, but it did the job. The corner store where he worked after school wasn't much. Stocking shelves, sweeping floors, sometimes working the register when Mr. Park needed a break. But it paid $8 an hour, and every dollar went into the shoebox under his bed. $2,347 so far. He counted it every Sunday night. It wasn't much, but when he turned 18 in less than 2 years, that money might be the difference between having a roof over his head and sleeping in his car. If he even had a car by then. Tyler had learned not to think too far ahead. The future was this fuzzy thing that probably wouldn't work out anyway, so why waste energy on it? Today was hard enough. Today he had to go back to the Hendersons' house where he was currently placement number 7 in 4 years. They weren't bad people. They weren't good people either. They were just there. 3 other foster kids in the house, all younger than him, all needing attention he'd stopped asking for years ago. The crosswalk light turned green and Tyler stepped off the curb. His mind was already running through tonight's homework. Chemistry quiz tomorrow. English essay due Friday. If he could just get through this week without any drama at the house, maybe he could actually pull off straight A's again this semester. Grades were the only thing he had control over. Everything else in his life was decided by other people. That's when he heard it. The screech of tires against asphalt. That sound that makes your stomach drop even before your brain catches up. Tyler's head snapped to the right. A black SUV was flying through the intersection way too fast, the driver's face visible through the windshield, looking down at something. Not at the road, not at the red light they'd just blown through, and directly in the vehicle's path, maybe 15 feet away, was a baby stroller. Time did that weird thing where it seemed to slow down and speed up at the same time. Tyler saw the stroller starting to roll into the street, saw a woman a few feet behind it lunging forward, her phone clattering to the ground, her mouth open in a scream that hadn't reached his ears yet. The stroller had somehow gotten away from her. Maybe she'd let go for just a second and now it was rolling, picking up speed on the slight slope. Tyler didn't think. That's the thing people don't understand about moments like this. There's no time for thinking. Your body just moves and you figure out why later. His legs were pumping before he made the decision to run. His backpack slid off his shoulder and hit the ground. He was sprinting and the SUV was getting closer. And the stroller was in the middle of the crosswalk now, and the baby inside was making those happy gurgling sounds babies make when they don't know they're about to die. 5 feet, 4 feet, 3. Tyler's hands closed around the stroller's handle. He yanked it backward with everything he had, pulling it out of the path of the SUV. But he'd built up too much momentum. His feet tangled. The world tilted sideways, and then there was an impact hard and wrong against his shoulder and side. The SUV's mirror caught him. Not a direct hit, not like it would have been if he hadn't jumped back at the last second, but enough. Enough to send him spinning. Enough to feel like someone had taken a baseball bat to his entire right side. He hit the pavement and the world went white with pain. When his vision cleared, he was on his back staring up at the afternoon sky. Gray clouds, a bird flying past, normal things like the world hadn't just tilted off its axis. Then faces appeared above him. A lot of faces. People were shouting. Someone was on the phone with 911. Someone else was asking if he could hear them, if he knew his name. Tyler tried to sit up, but his shoulder screamed in protest and a hand gently pushed him back down. Don't move, son. Ambulance is coming, the stroller. Where was the stroller? Tyler turned his head and fresh pain shot down his neck, but he saw it. Saw the stroller on the sidewalk safe. Saw a woman in scrubs kneeling next to it, lifting out a toddler, maybe a 1.5 years old, checking her over with shaking hands. The little girl was crying, that confused, scared cry, but she was moving. She was okay. Relief flooded through Tyler so intensely he thought he might pass out. She was okay. The woman holding the toddler looked over at him and their eyes met. Hers were filled with tears. She was saying something, but he couldn't hear it over the noise of the crowd and the ringing in his ears. Thank you, maybe. Or I'm sorry. Or both. Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. Tyler let his head fall back against the concrete. His shoulder throbbed. His side burned where the pavement had scraped away skin through his jacket. His jeans were torn at the knee, but the little girl was okay. That's all that mattered. The paramedics arrived in a blur of uniforms and equipment. They asked him questions he answered automatically. Dame Tyler Jackson, age 16. What hurts? Everything. Can you move your fingers? Yes, your toes? Yes, that was good, they said. That was very good. They loaded him onto a stretcher, and as they lifted him into the ambulance, Tyler caught one more glimpse of the woman with the toddler. She was talking to a police officer, gesturing at Tyler, at the street, at her daughter. The little girl had her face buried in her mother's neck, tiny fists clutching her shirt. A police officer leaned into the ambulance. That was incredibly brave, young man. You saved that child's life. Tyler didn't feel brave. He felt like he'd just gotten hit by a car, but the officer was looking at him like he'd done something heroic. And other people were taking photos, and someone was asking for his name for a witness statement. And it was all too much. The ambulance doors closed, shutting out the noise. The paramedic smiled at him kindly as she checked his vitals. You did good, kid. Real good. Tyler closed his eyes. Somewhere in the chaos, he'd lost his backpack. His homework was probably scattered across the intersection. Mr. Park would wonder why he didn't show up tomorrow. The Hendersons would be annoyed about having to come to the hospital. His carefully ordered life had just exploded into chaos, all because he'd done one impulsive thing. But when he thought about that little girl's face alive and crying and safe, he knew he'd do it again in a heartbeat, even if it meant everything was about to change in ways he couldn't possibly imagine. The hospital room was too quiet. Tyler had been staring at the ceiling tiles for what felt like hours, counting the little dots in each one, 47 dots per tile. The morphine they'd given him made everything feel fuzzy around the edges, but the pain in his shoulder still pulsed like a heartbeat. Dislocated, they'd said. They'd popped it back in, which was an experience Tyler never wanted to repeat. Road rash down his right side, bruised ribs, but nothing broken, nothing permanent. Lucky, everyone kept saying. You're so lucky. Mrs. Henderson had come by earlier that morning with her husband. They'd stood at the foot of his bed for maybe 10 minutes asking the basic questions. How are you feeling? Do you need anything? When can you come home? Tyler could see the stress on their faces. Another thing to deal with. Another complication in their already complicated lives. They had 3 other kids to worry about, and now their oldest placement was all over the news. Yeah, the news. That was still weird. Tyler shifted in the bed, trying to find a position that didn't hurt when there was a knock on the door. He expected a nurse, maybe the doctor, coming to check on him again. Instead, a woman in purple scrubs walked in, carrying a vase of flowers and a paper bag that smelled incredible. It took him a second to recognize her. The woman from the crosswalk. The mother. Hi, she said softly, pausing just inside the door like she wasn't sure if she should be there. I'm sorry to just show up. The nurse said it was okay to visit. I'm Natalie Rodriguez. I don't know if you remember, but I remember, Tyler said, pushing himself up a little straighter and immediately regretting it as his ribs protested. Is your daughter okay? Natalie's face did something complicated, like she was going to cry and smile at the same time. She's perfect. Completely fine. Not a scratch on her. Because of you. She set the flowers on the windowsill and pulled a chair closer to his bed. The doctor said she would have been killed instantly if that SUV had hit the stroller. They said there's no question about it. Tyler didn't know what to say to that. The morphine made his thoughts slow and sticky. Natalie sat down and opened the paper bag. I brought you some food. Hospital food is terrible, and I figure you're probably sick of it already. These are empanadas, my mother's recipe. They're still warm. The smell hit Tyler full force, and his stomach growled so loudly they both heard it. When was the last time he'd eaten? The sandwich yesterday at school? Natalie laughed and handed him the bag. Inside were 4 golden pastries wrapped in paper towels. Tyler bit into one, and it was possibly the best thing he'd ever tasted. Beef and spices and something he couldn't identify but wanted more of. He finished the first one in about 4 bites. Good? Natalie asked. Really good, Tyler managed around a mouthful. Then, remembering his manners, thank you. They sat in silence for a moment while Tyler ate a second empanada. Natalie watched him with this expression he couldn't quite read. Not pity, exactly. Something else. The police told me you're in foster care, she finally said. Tyler's chewing slowed. Here it was. The questions. The assumptions. People always got weird when they found out he was a foster kid. Yeah. How long have you been in the system? Since I was 9. 7 years. Tyler set down the half-eaten empanada. His appetite was suddenly gone. My mom had some problems. Addiction stuff. She tried, but she couldn't take care of me. No other family wanted me, so he shrugged with his good shoulder. Foster care. Natalie nodded slowly. She didn't look uncomfortable or pitying. She just looked sad. That must be incredibly hard. Something about the way she said it, like she actually meant it, made Tyler's throat tight. He swallowed hard. It's not so bad. Some places are worse than others. The Hendersons are okay. I've got a job. I'm doing good in school. As soon as I turn 18, I'll age out and then I can figure out my own life. What do you want to do? After you age out? No one ever asked him that. Teachers didn't ask because they felt weird about it. Foster parents didn't ask because they knew he was temporary. Other kids didn't ask because they didn't care. College, maybe, Tyler heard himself say. If I can get scholarships. I want to study social work. Help other kids like me. It sounded stupid saying it out loud, like he was some kind of hero in his own story. I don't know. We'll see. Natalie smiled and it reached her eyes. That's a beautiful goal, Tyler. And for what it's worth, I think you'd be amazing at it. Anyone who risks their life for a stranger's child has exactly the kind of heart that's needed in that field. Tyler looked away, uncomfortable with the praise. I didn't really think about it. I just reacted. That's what makes it brave, Natalie said quietly. Courage isn't about thinking. It's about doing the right thing even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. She reached into her purse and pulled out her phone. Would you mind if I took a picture? Not for social media or anything like that. For myself. I want to remember the person who saved my daughter's life. Tyler shrugged, then nodded. Natalie snapped a quick photo, smiled at her phone, then put it away. Can I ask you something? She said. And you can tell me if I'm overstepping. But are you happy? Where you are now? The question hit Tyler like a punch. Happy? When was the last time anyone had asked him if he was happy? When was the last time he'd even thought about it? Happiness seemed like a luxury for people with permanent addresses and families who wanted them. I'm surviving, he said finally. That's enough. Natalie's face did that complicated thing again. Surviving shouldn't have to be enough. Not for someone like you. You deserve more than that. Before Tyler could figure out how to respond, Natalie stood up. She pulled a card from her purse and set it on his bedside table. This has my phone number on it. I'm a nurse, so I work weird hours, but you can call or text me anytime. For anything. Even if you just need to talk. Or you need help with something, or you're having a bad day. Okay? Tyler stared at the card. People didn't do this. They didn't give foster kids their phone numbers and mean it. They didn't show up at hospitals with homemade food and genuine concern. Why? He asked. Because you saved my daughter's life, Natalie said simply. And because I have a feeling you don't have enough people in your corner. Everyone needs someone in their corner, Tyler. After she left, Tyler picked up the card. Natalie Rodriguez, RN. With a phone number and an email address. He half expected it to disappear, like maybe he'd imagined the whole visit. But it was real. The flowers on the windowsill were real. The remaining empanadas were real. That night, Tyler was released from the hospital. Mr. Henderson picked him up and the drive back to the house was mostly silent. When they got home, Tyler went straight to his room, the one he shared with a 12-year-old named Kevin who was currently at a friend's house. Tyler lay on his bed, his shoulder aching, and stared at Natalie's card. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Hi, Tyler, it's Natalie Rodriguez. Just wanted to make sure you got home okay. Get some rest. You've been through a lot. Tyler stared at the message for a long time before typing back. Home safe. Thanks for visiting. And for the food. 3 dots appeared showing she was typing. Anytime. I mean that. Take care of yourself. Tyler saved her number in his phone and set it on his nightstand. Through the thin walls, he could hear the TV downstairs. Mrs. Henderson talking on the phone, the normal sounds of a house that wasn't really his. But in his pocket was a business card. In his phone was a number. And for the first time in 7 years, Tyler let himself wonder if maybe, just maybe, surviving wasn't all he was meant for. Maybe just this once, something good was going to come from something terrible. Maybe this time, things might actually work out. The thought scared him more than the accident had, because hope was dangerous. Hope could break you worse than any car ever could. But as Tyler drifted off to sleep, his shoulder throbbing and his side burning and his future uncertain, he found himself hoping anyway, and that was the scariest. Most wonderful thing of all, the video had been viewed 400,000 times. Tyler stared at his phone in disbelief, watching himself on some stranger's Instagram feed. The angle was from across the street, shaky footage from someone who'd been recording something else when the accident happened. You could see him running, grabbing the stroller, the SUV's mirror catching him hitting the ground. The caption read, "Foster kid risks his life to save baby. Real hero right here," comments poured in underneath. Hundreds of them, thousands, people saying he was brave. People saying he restored their faith in humanity. People asking who he was, where he lived, how they could help him. It made Tyler's skin crawl. "Dude, you're famous," Kevin said from his bed across the room. His 12-year-old foster brother had discovered the video that morning and had been refreshing the comments ever since. "Someone started a GoFundMe for you. It's already at like $8,000. What?" Tyler's head snapped up. "What are you talking about?" Kevin turned his phone around. Sure enough, there it was, a GoFundMe page with Tyler's name and a badly cropped screenshot from the video. "Help Foster Teen Hero" was the title. The description talked about how Tyler had risked his life, how he was in the foster system with no family support, how he deserved help. Tyler felt sick. He hadn't asked for this. He didn't want charity from strangers who'd forget about him in a week when the next viral video came along. His phone buzzed. A text from Natalie. "Have you seen the news coverage? Channel 7 wants to interview you. I told them they'd have to go through your social worker first. Hope that's okay." Tyler groaned and flopped back on his bed. His shoulder still hurt even 3 days after the accident. The Hendersons had let him stay home from school, which was good because he couldn't face the attention there yet. But that reprieve was ending tomorrow. Another text, this time from a number he didn't recognize. "Tyler, this is Patricia Thornton from Channel 7 News. We'd love to talk to you about your heroic actions. Could you give me a call?" Then another. Then another. His phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Tyler turned it off and shoved it under his pillow. Downstairs, he heard Mrs. Henderson on the phone. Her voice had that clipped, stressed tone she got when she was dealing with something she didn't want to deal with. Tyler crept to the top of the stairs to listen. "I understand that, but we're not equipped for this kind of attention. We have 3 other children in the house, and this situation is becoming disruptive. Yes, I know he did a good thing. That's not what I'm saying. Look, we're just asking if there's another placement available that might be better suited." Tyler's stomach dropped. They were trying to get rid of him. Of course they were. He was causing problems, bringing attention, making their lives harder. That's what he did. That's what he always did, eventually. He went back to his room and pulled out the shoebox from under his bed. $2,347. Would it be enough if they kicked him out before he turned 18? Could he rent a room somewhere? Get a GED instead of finishing school? The thoughts spiraled, familiar and terrifying. His phone buzzed again, even though it was supposed to be off. Tyler pulled it out. The battery must have restarted it. Another text from Natalie. "Are you okay? You haven't responded in a few hours. Just checking in." Tyler's fingers hovered over the keyboard. He shouldn't tell her. She had her own life, her own kid to worry about. She'd done enough already by visiting him in the hospital, but something made him type anyway. "I think my foster parents want to get rid of me because of all the attention." 3 dots appeared immediately. Then his phone rang. Natalie's name on the screen. Tyler answered. "Hello?" "Tyler, hi. Can you talk right now?" Natalie's voice was urgent but warm. "Yeah." "Okay. I need you to listen to me. What I'm about to say might sound crazy, but I've been thinking about it ever since I met you at the hospital. And now with everything happening, I think it's the right thing to do." Tyler's heart hammered. "Okay. I want to foster you." The words didn't make sense at first. Tyler had to replay them in his head twice before they clicked into place. "What?" "I know this is sudden," Natalie continued, speaking fast like she was afraid she'd lose her nerve. "And I know we barely know each other. But I've been doing research. I'm a single parent, but I own my home. I have a stable job. I have space. I've already called your social worker to start the process. There's going to be paperwork and home visits and background checks, but I want to try, if you want to. I'm not trying to pressure you or make you uncomfortable. You can say no, and I'll understand completely. But I want you to know that the option is there. Tyler couldn't breathe. This didn't happen. People didn't just offer to take in teenage foster kids, especially not 16-year-olds who were almost aged out anyway. It didn't make sense. Why? He managed to ask. Natalie was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was thick with emotion. Because when I saw you lying on that ground after you saved my daughter, I saw my little brother. He was in foster care for 3 years when we were kids. Our parents got divorced, things got messy, he ended up in the system. I was already 18 and living on my own, and I tried to get custody, but I didn't have the resources. By the time I did, he'd already aged out. He's okay now, but those years were hell for him, and I always regretted not fighting harder. She paused, and Tyler heard her take a shaky breath. And then I met you. This brave, smart, kind kid who's just trying to survive, and I thought, maybe this is my chance to do what I couldn't do then. Maybe I can give one kid a soft place to land. Maybe I can be what my brother needed and didn't have. Tyler's eyes burned. He pressed his palm against them, trying to stop the tears that wanted to come. You don't even know me. So we'll get to know each other, Natalie said simply. That's what families do. They learn each other. And Tyler, I know this is scary. I know you've probably been disappointed by adults before, but I promise you I'm serious about this. I've already talked to my mother. She lives nearby and she's on board. My brother too. You'd have a whole support system, not just me. Tyler thought about the Hendersons downstairs, trying to figure out how to get rid of him. He thought about his 7 placements in 4 years. He thought about his shoebox full of money and his plan to age out and figure it out on his own. He thought about Natalie's daughter, safe because of a split-second decision. What if it doesn't work out? He asked quietly. Then we'll figure it out together, Natalie said. But Tyler, I don't think that's going to happen. I have a good feeling about this. About you. Over the next 2 weeks, things moved fast. Tyler's social worker, Ms. Chen, was cautiously optimistic. She'd seen too many placements fall through to get excited, but she admitted that Natalie seemed genuinely committed. The home visit went well. The background check came back clean. Natalie's references were glowing. The Hendersons, relieved to have a solution to their problem, signed off on the transfer without much fuss. Tyler packed his things into 2 duffel bags and 1 cardboard box. Everything he owned fit in those 3 containers. 7 years in the system and he could pack up and move in under an hour. He was good at it by now. Natalie picked him up on a Saturday morning. Her daughter, Riley, was strapped into her car seat in the back, babbling happily and waving a stuffed rabbit. Tyler put his bags in the trunk and climbed into the passenger seat. Ready? Natalie asked, smiling but nervous. Tyler looked back at the Henderson house. Kevin was watching from the upstairs window, giving him a thumbs up. Tyler waved back. Ready, he said. The drive to Natalie's house took 20 minutes. She lived in a neighborhood that was nicer than anywhere Tyler had lived before. Not rich, but solid. Houses with actual yards. Trees lining the streets. Kids riding bikes. Natalie's house was a small 2-story with blue shutters. She pulled into the driveway and Tyler saw an older woman standing on the porch with a man who looked about 30. Both were smiling. That's my mom, Isabel, and my brother, David, Natalie said. They wanted to be here when you arrived. I hope that's okay. Tyler nodded, his mouth too dry to speak. They all helped carry his stuff inside. The house smelled like cookies. The living room had comfortable furniture and family photos on the walls. Isabel had made lunch, enough food to feed an army. David joked around, trying to put Tyler at ease. Riley toddled around, showing Tyler her toys, and Natalie showed him his room. An actual room, not shared with anyone. It had a bed with a real comforter, a desk, a bookshelf, a window that looked out at the backyard. The walls were a soft gray, and Natalie had put up some posters of bands she thought he might like based on the shirt he'd been wearing at the hospital. We can change anything you don't like, she said quickly. I just wanted it to feel welcoming. But it's your space. You can decorate it however you want. Tyler set his duffel bag on the bed. His eyes stung again. It's perfect, he said and meant it. That night after Isabel and David left and Riley was asleep, Tyler lay in his new bed in his new room in his new home and let himself feel it. The hope, the terror, the possibility that maybe, just maybe, this was the place where things finally got better. It was the scariest feeling in the world. It was also the best. The first week at Natalie's house, Tyler waited for the other shoe to drop. He kept his duffel bags packed under his bed just in case. He was extra careful to clean up after himself, to be quiet, to not take up too much space. When Natalie cooked dinner and told him to sit down and relax, he felt wrong doing it. When Isabel came over and hugged him hello, he stood stiff as a board, unsure how to respond. When Riley grabbed his hand and pulled him toward her toy box, he looked to Natalie first for permission. "You don't have to ask," Natalie said gently. "You live here now. This is your home." But Tyler had heard that before, 7 times before, and every time something had gone wrong. He'd messed up, or the family had changed their mind, or the placement just hadn't worked out. He was too old, too quiet, too much work, too damaged. There was always a reason. School was weird too. Tyler had transferred mid-semester and everyone knew who he was now. The kid from the video. The foster kid who saved the baby. People wanted to sit with him at lunch. Teachers gave him sympathetic looks. Girls who'd never noticed him before suddenly said hi in the hallways. Tyler hated it. He didn't want to be the hero. He just wanted to be normal. But there was one bright spot. His chemistry teacher, Mr. Patterson, pulled him aside after class one day. "I've been looking at your transcripts from your previous schools," he said. "Your grades are exceptional. Have you thought about college?" Tyler shrugged. "Can't afford it. Scholarships," Mr. Patterson said. "With your academic record and your circumstances, you'd be a strong candidate for several programs. I'd like to help you start applying if you're interested." And Tyler found himself saying yes, because for the first time he could imagine a future that wasn't just surviving. Maybe he could actually go to college. Maybe he could become a social worker like he'd told Natalie. Maybe things could work out, but doubt crept in at night. This was too good, too easy. Something would ruin it. He'd ruin it. 3 weeks in, Tyler accidentally broke a plate while washing dishes. It slipped from his soapy hands and shattered on the kitchen floor. He froze, his heart hammering, waiting for the anger. Natalie looked up from where she was feeding Riley. "Oh no, are you okay? Did you cut yourself?" Tyler stared at her. "I broke your plate." "Plates break," Natalie said, getting up to grab the broom. "It happens. Are your hands okay?" "I'm sorry," Tyler said, backing away from the broken pieces. "I'll replace it. I have money. I can—" "Tyler!" Natalie's voice was firm but kind. She set down the broom and put her hands on his shoulders. "It's a plate. It costs maybe $3. It's not a big deal. You're not in trouble. You're never going to be in trouble for accidents." "Okay." Tyler nodded, but his hands were shaking. In his last placement, breaking things meant lectures about being more careful, about them not having money to replace stuff, about him being old enough to know better. Natalie seemed to read his mind. "I don't know what your previous homes were like," she said quietly, "but I need you to understand something. You're not a burden here. You're not walking on eggshells. This is your home and you're allowed to make mistakes. You're allowed to break plates and forget to take out the trash and leave your shoes in the middle of the floor. That's what living with people is like. We're all human. We all mess up sometimes." That night, Tyler lay in bed and cried for the first time in years. Not because he was sad, but because he was starting to believe it might actually be okay to stay. The second month brought new challenges. Isabel invited Tyler to Sunday dinner at her house, along with David and his wife Rachel. Tyler had never done the extended family thing before. He sat at the big dining table surrounded by people who were laughing and talking and passing dishes around, and felt completely out of place. David noticed. He leaned over and said quietly, "It's a lot, right? My mom's Sunday dinners are intense, but you'll get used to it. And if you need a break, the back porch is a good escape spot." Tyler appreciated that. David didn't try too hard or make it weird. He just treated Tyler like a regular person, like family. Isabel had made tamales, and Tyler had never had them before. She showed him how to unwrap them, and when he said they were amazing, her whole face lit up. "I'll teach you how to make them," she said. "It's a family recipe, passed down from my grandmother." Family recipe. Tyler was part of that now. The thought made his chest tight, but it wasn't all smooth. One night, Tyler and Natalie had their first real argument. She'd asked him about his homework, and he'd snapped at her that he could handle it himself. He didn't need her checking up on him like he was a little kid. Natalie had gotten quiet. Then she said, "I'm not checking up on you because I don't trust you. I'm asking because I care about how you're doing." "That's what parents do, Tyler." Tyler had gone to his room and slammed the door. He felt awful immediately, But he didn't know how to apologize. He'd never had to navigate this before. In foster homes, you didn't argue with your placement. You just shut up and dealt with it. An hour later, there was a knock on his door. Natalie came in and sat on the edge of his bed. "I'm sorry," Tyler said before she could speak. "I shouldn't have yelled at you." "I'm sorry too," Natalie said. "I'm still learning how to do this. How to be what you need. We're going to mess up sometimes, both of us. But we have to talk about it. We have to work through it together. That's how this works," Tyler nodded. "I'm not used to people caring." "I know," Natalie said. "But you better get used to it. Because I do care. A lot." By the third month, things started to feel more natural. Tyler stopped packing his bags. He started decorating his room with posters he actually liked. He sat at the dinner table without waiting for permission. He played with Riley, making her giggle with silly faces. He called Isabel Grandma Isabel because that's what she'd asked him to call her, and it didn't feel as weird as he thought it would. He also started the college application process with Mr. Patterson's help. They applied to 8 schools, all with strong social work programs, all with good financial aid packages. Tyler wrote his essay about the foster system, about wanting to help kids like him, about how one moment of connection could change everything. Natalie helped him proofread it. When she finished, she had tears in her eyes. "This is beautiful, Tyler. You're going to do amazing things." But the real test came in December, 4 months after Tyler had moved in. The adoption paperwork came through. Natalie had explained it weeks earlier. She wanted to adopt him, not just foster him. That meant permanence. That meant legally being her son. Tyler would have a family. A real family. Forever. Tyler had agreed immediately, but now that the papers were sitting on the kitchen table, reality hit him hard. This was real. This was happening. He was going to have a mom, a grandma, an uncle, a little sister, a last name that matched theirs. "You don't have to decide right now," Natalie said, watching him stare at the forms. "I know this is huge. I know it's scary. If you need more time to think about it." "I want to," Tyler interrupted. I'm scared I'm going to mess it up. That I'm going to do something wrong and you'll regret it." Natalie pulled him into a hug, and this time Tyler hugged her back. "You're not going to mess it up," she said. "And even if you make mistakes, even if things get hard, I'm not going anywhere. That's what adoption means. It means I'm choosing you, Tyler. Forever, no takebacks." They signed the papers together. Tyler's hand shook as he wrote his name, but he did it. He signed away his old life and signed into a new one. The court date was set for February. In the meantime, Tyler settled into his new normal. He got his first report card from his new school, straight A's. He got his driver's permit, and David started teaching him to drive on weekends. He helped Isabel bake Christmas cookies. He played Santa with Riley, who was now calling him Ty-Ty and following him everywhere. At night, Tyler would lie in his room and marvel at how different his life was. 4 months ago, he'd been counting money in a shoebox, planning for the day he aged out of the system. Now he was planning for college, planning for a future that included people who loved him. The video had long since stopped going viral. The news cycle had moved on. The GoFundMe money, which had reached $12,000, sat in an account for his college expenses. Most people had forgotten about the foster kid who saved the baby, but Tyler hadn't forgotten. He'd saved Riley that day, sure, but in a way, Riley and Natalie and Isabel and David had saved him too. They'd given him something he'd thought was impossible. They'd given him a home, and in just 2 more months it would be official. He'd stand in front of a judge, and Natalie would legally become his mother, and he'd legally become her son, and the word foster would finally be erased from his story. Tyler couldn't wait. For the first time in his life, he was excited about the future, and that felt like the biggest miracle of all. The courthouse was smaller than Tyler had imagined. He'd worn the one nice shirt he owned, the one Natalie had bought him for Christmas, and he kept tugging at the collar nervously. His palms were sweating. This was it. The day everything became official. Natalie stood next to him in the hallway holding Riley, who was dressed in a frilly pink dress and more interested in her sippy cup than the importance of the moment. Isabel and David were there too, Isabel dabbing at her eyes with a tissue even though nothing had happened yet. David gave Tyler a thumbs up and a grin. "You okay?" Natalie asked, adjusting Tyler's collar for the 3rd time. "Yeah," Tyler said. Then more honestly, I'm terrified. Me too, Natalie admitted with a laugh. Good terrified though, right? Yeah, good terrified. Ms. Chen, Tyler's social worker, appeared around the corner with a warm smile. Over the past 6 months, she'd watched Tyler transform from a guarded survival mode kid into someone who smiled more, joked around, and actually looked his age for once. Ready? She asked. The courtroom was quiet and formal. The judge, a woman in her 60s with kind eyes and reading glasses perched on her nose, reviewed the papers in front of her. She asked Natalie a series of questions. Did she understand the permanent nature of adoption? Was she prepared to support Tyler emotionally and financially until he reached adulthood? Did she enter into this decision freely and without coercion? Natalie answered yes to everything, her voice steady and sure. Then the judge turned to Tyler. And you, Tyler? Do you consent to this adoption? Do you want Natalie Rodriguez to become your legal mother? Tyler's throat was tight. He thought about the 7 placements before this. The temporary homes, the packed bags under beds, the constant uncertainty. Then he thought about the past 6 months, Sunday dinners with Isabel, learning to drive with David, playing blocks with Riley, Natalie helping him with college applications at the kitchen table late at night. Yes, he said. More than anything, the judge smiled. She signed the papers with a flourish, and just like that it was done. Tyler Jackson was now Tyler Rodriguez, Natalie's son. Legally, officially, permanently. Isabel started crying in earnest. David was recording on his phone, grinning like an idiot. Riley threw her sippy cup in celebration, and it bounced off the floor with a loud clatter that made everyone laugh, even the judge. Natalie pulled Tyler into a hug, and he hugged her back hard. His mom. She was his mom now. Congratulations, the judge said warmly. I wish you both all the happiness in the world. They celebrated at Isabel's house with a party that felt like every birthday and holiday Tyler had missed rolled into one. There was a cake with "Congratulations, Tyler" written in blue frosting. There were relatives Tyler was still learning the names of, all of them hugging him and welcoming him to the family. There were presents which felt weird because it wasn't his birthday. But everyone insisted. David gave him a framed photo from the courthouse, the moment right after the adoption was finalized. Tyler and Natalie hugging with matching smiles. Isabel gave him a leather journal. For writing down your story, she said. Every chapter, past and future. And Natalie gave him a key. Not just to the house, but to a used car she and David had bought together. A 10-year-old Honda that needed some work, but it ran and it was his. You'll need it for college, Natalie said when Tyler protested that it was too much. And besides, now you can drive Riley to the park and give me a break sometimes. Tyler looked at the key in his hand, then at the faces around him. His family. He had a family. The rest of Tyler's junior year flew by in a blur of normalcy that felt anything but normal to him. He aced his finals. He got his driver's license on the first try. He taught Riley how to count to 10 in Spanish, which Isabel thought was hilarious since his Spanish was terrible. He started volunteering at a youth center, working with foster kids, which confirmed what he already knew. This was what he wanted to do with his life. The college acceptance letters started arriving in March. Tyler got into 6 of his 8 schools. The University of Washington offered him a full ride, a combination of academic scholarships and a special program for former foster youth. When the letter came, Natalie screamed so loud she woke Riley from her nap. You did it, she said, jumping up and down like a teenager herself. Tyler, you did it! But there was one more thing Tyler needed to do. In April, almost a year after the accident, Tyler went back to the intersection where it had happened. He stood on the corner watching the traffic lights cycle through red, yellow, green, the spot where the stroller had been, the spot where he'd hit the ground. A lot had changed in a year. A lot had changed in him. He pulled out his phone and called a number he hadn't dialed in months. It rang 3 times before someone picked up. Hello? Mrs. Henderson? It's Tyler Jackson. Tyler Rodriguez now. There was a pause. Tyler, how are you? I'm good, he said. Really good. I just wanted to call and say thank you for taking me in even when it was hard, for being patient with me. I know I wasn't easy to deal with. Mrs. Henderson was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was softer than Tyler remembered. You were never the problem, Tyler. We just weren't the right fit. I'm glad you found somewhere you belong. I heard about the adoption. Congratulations. They talked for a few more minutes. It wasn't a deep conversation and it didn't erase the past, but it felt like closure. Like Tyler was making peace with every chapter of his story, even the hard ones. When senior year started, Tyler was a different person than he'd been a year ago. He was confident enough to try out for the school play. Even though he didn't get cast, he joined the debate team. He asked a girl named Amanda to homecoming, and when she said yes, he called David in a panic about what to wear. He spent Thanksgiving helping Isabel cook, learning to make tamales like she'd promised. He spent Christmas morning watching Riley destroy wrapping paper with unbridled joy. He spent New Year's Eve at David and Rachel's house, staying up until midnight, belonging somewhere when the clock struck 12, and through it all, Natalie was there. Not perfect because no parent is perfect, but present. When Tyler bombed a calculus test and thought his college dreams were over, she reminded him that one test didn't define him. When he had nightmares about the accident, she sat with him until he fell back asleep. When he got overwhelmed by the enormity of his future, she reminded him to take it one day at a time. In May, Tyler graduated high school with honors. He gave a speech as salutatorian, talking about second chances and the people who believe in you even when you don't believe in yourself. He didn't mention the accident specifically, but everyone knew what he was talking about. When he finished, the gymnasium erupted in applause. Natalie, Isabel, David, Rachel, and Riley sat in the front row, cheering louder than anyone. That summer, Tyler worked full-time at the youth center and helped Natalie with something he never expected, fostering another kid. Her name was Brooklyn. She was 14, and she was angry at the world in the way Tyler understood completely. He helped her move into the spare room, the one that used to be an office. He showed her that it was okay to unpack her bags, that this place was different. "How do you know?" Brooklyn asked suspiciously. "Because I've been where you are," Tyler said, "and I know it's hard to trust. But give it a chance. Give them a chance. They're the real deal." Brooklyn didn't believe him at first, but Tyler watched as slowly she started to relax, started to smile, started to belong. In August, Tyler packed up his car for college. He was moving into the dorms at the University of Washington, starting his social work degree, beginning the next chapter. Isabel made him enough food to last a month. David slipped him $200 for emergencies. Riley cried because she didn't understand why her big brother was leaving, and Natalie helped him load the last box into his car, then pulled him into a long hug. "I'm so proud of you," she said. "You're going to do incredible things, Tyler." "I wouldn't be here without you," Tyler said. "You know that, right? You saved my life just as much as I saved Riley's." Natalie pulled back to look at him, tears streaming down her face. "We saved each other. That's what families do." Tyler drove to Seattle with the windows down and the music up, and for the first time in his life, he wasn't running from something. He was running toward it, toward his future, toward his dreams, toward the person he was becoming. And that night, in his dorm room, surrounded by boxes and possibility, Tyler pulled out the journal Isabel had given him. He opened to the first page and wrote, "My name is Tyler Rodriguez. I'm 18 years old. I'm a college student. I'm a big brother. I'm a son. I'm a foster care survivor. I'm going to be a social worker. I'm going to help kids like me find their families like I found mine. This is my story, and it's just beginning." He closed the journal and looked out the window at the campus lights, at the big wide world waiting for him. A year and a half ago, he'd saved a little girl from an accident. He'd thought that was the end of the story, the moment that defined him, but it turned out it was just the beginning. The moment that showed him what he was capable of. The moment that brought him a family. The moment that changed everything, and now Tyler Rodriguez was ready to change the world, one foster kid at a time.